everybody, and welcome to the very first edition of Ask A, where I'm going to be answering reader questions and just talking about whatever you guys want to talk about. So it can be anything from fashion, beauty, motherhood, whatever topics you want to talk about, we're going to chat about it. So I asked on our Facebook page a couple, probably like last week, what you guys wanted to hear. And if you want to be in the next round to ask questions, be sure to like us on Facebook, facebook.com/OatInTexas, and we'll be asking for a new round of questions here soon. So this go around, we got a pretty good range of questions. The first one comes from Kaden, and she says, how did your parents come up with Aquila? And I always love telling this story to people when we first meet, and they're like, what the heck is your name? Why are you named that? And they're just really confused. They've never heard a name like that before. And so what I always tell people is that, number one, it's from the Bible. My parents wanted a biblical name, but they also wanted something really different. And so I think they were just going through a list of biblical names and pretty much picked out the weirdest one they could find. And in the Bible, it's pronounced Aquila, and it's a guy, and he's married to a woman named Priscilla, and they're friends of Paul. They're like a tent maker family, and they help Paul a lot when he's traveling and whatnot. And in a couple of Paul's letters, he says, like, please say hello to Aquila and Priscilla and yada yada yada. So it's not like a huge part. I always say I'm not like the starring role in the Bible, but it's kind of a fun story to tell people. And my parents thought that Aquila would be a little bit more of a feminine pronunciation for the name, and that's the story of my name. The second question comes from Kelsey, and she says, what's been the most difficult thing you've had to do as a mother? So I think every mother would probably say labor right off the bat, but once you get past that and you've actually got a baby in your hands and you have to raise that baby, amazingly enough, it actually gets more difficult. So I think I saw somebody post the other day that they're really glad that they have the memory of the pain of labor for when things are really difficult. I think it was my cousin April, actually, who has an amazing blog, by the way, that I'll link to below. So she was saying she's glad she has the pain of labor for when she has to put her kids to sleep, and I totally relate to that, because there's moments where you're like, I don't know if I can do this, and then you're like, wait a minute, I gave birth to a child, I can totally do this. So I think that's a very difficult thing to do as a mom. But then too, I think one of the things that I really struggle with is that constant battle between having a happy kid and having a well-disciplined kid, if that makes sense. So there's times where I know if I tell Cora no, or I tell her she can't do something, she's gonna throw a fit. And so that can be really hard as a parent to say, all right, I'm just gonna know that she's gonna throw a fit and I'm gonna have to put up with it, especially if you're out in public. It's a lot easier when you're just at home and you can say, all right, go ahead. If you want to throw a tantrum, throw a tantrum. But when you're in the grocery store or you're stuck in traffic or things like that, it can be really tempting to just say yes to your kid in order to get through the day, get through whatever you're doing. So for me, that's really difficult. My husband has a lot easier time disciplining and sticking to his guns, which is very surprising. That's not how we thought we would be as parents, but you never know until you find out. So that's definitely the most difficult thing for me as a mom. The last question comes from Marianne, and she says, how should women of age dress? She says, should they dress their age? Should they take a risk and go for clothes that are targeted towards younger ladies, or what? So my response to that is, I think I'm 27, about to turn 28, and it's still hard for me to know how to dress as a 20-something. I think especially because, you know, I'm a mom of young children, and I think women who are moms are expected to dress a certain way and dress a little bit more conservatively. So it's a struggle for anyone, not just women of age. But my best advice is to, when you get to a certain point in your life where you feel like, is it appropriate for me to be wearing this trend? If you like the trend and you think that you'll feel comfortable in it and confident in it, go for it. And if you aren't maybe comfortable with a certain trend, you know, that you see at Forever 21 or a place that's targeted towards young women, I think retailers now are doing a really good job of doing a trend that has been adjusted appropriately for your age. So if you want to wear a jumpsuit, or you want to wear a crop top or something like that, there's a lot of good options for people who wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable in a crop top up to here, but there's a crop top that will go just a little bit above your waist, and you can still wear a tank top under it and, you know, feel good about it. Or if you want to do a jumpsuit, maybe you don't want to do skin tight, super bright pattern, crazy colors, but you could do something a little bit more of loose, not loose fitting, but, you know, more flattering shape to it, and then maybe in black, and so it looks really chic and, you know, flattering. So you can do something like that. But the biggest thing to me is, you know, I think women say to themselves all the time, oh, I couldn't pull that off, I couldn't do that. But you can. The biggest thing is, if you walk into a room and you own whatever it is that you're wearing or looking like that day, if you have that kind of aura about you, then people aren't even going to question, is that okay for her to be wearing that? Because you'll just look so self-assured in yourself that to them, they won't even consider that. They'll just see a gorgeous, beautiful woman who is, you know, proud of who she is, and that's a beautiful thing. So I think that's the best advice that I can give. But I'm glad you asked that question, because I know a lot of women do deal with that, whether you're 20 or you're 70 or whatever you are in between. So yeah, that is all the questions we have for today. And I hope you guys really liked it. Like I said, be sure you go to our Facebook page and like our page, and then be on the lookout for the next round of Ask A questions. And let us know what you want to hear about. And thanks for reading and watching now. Yay! Bye!